Tonight we continue with the Tafseer of Surat Al-Mudathir. We'll run inshallah until 9, so I like to that 50 minutes is not too long, it's not too short. I'm used to attending an hour and a half and 2 hours, and like the shuyukh in Sham are very aggressive with their teaching timings. And I'll tell you a funny story. Sheikh Muhammad Awad, Allah yarhamu. Sheikh Muhammad Awad was a very famous scholar in Damascus for many years. And he was kicked out by the regime that's now gone, alhamdulillah. And he had to leave and go live in Saudi Arabia for around 30 years of his life. In Medina, he lived in Medina. It happened to be that I was in Medina as a kid during the time he was there. And he would go to the Masjid Nabi all the time, and my father ran into him, and my father knew him obviously as a scholar from Damascus, so he introduced himself, and then we became they became a little bit close, as in they would visit every once in a while, and I as a kid I got to spend some time with Sheikh Muhammad Awad, and he's a lovely man, and I have stories from things he told me and things he taught me. Anyways, he finally was allowed to go back to Syria after the regime was still there. This was back 2006 or 7. He was allowed to go back, so he goes back, and it had been 30 years since he had been there. So he went to Jami' Zayd. This is in Fahami, in a part of Damascus. So we go, and I meet him there again as a man. I was a 20-something-year-old. I was a kid, but still, I was 20-year-old, 20-something. So I go and I meet him, and he actually recognizes me. Like and he remembers my name, not my last name, but he remembers my first name. And subhanAllah, but he gave his dars, and he goes on so he speaks around for an hour, and then it goes on for like maybe another 25 minutes. And then after maybe an hour and 35 minutes, people are kind of moving around. And he said, Shu Ahl Sham, Mallaytu? He's like, what, people of Damascus, you're bored? Sar li 30 sini ma hakayt. It's been 30 years I haven't spoken. Badi ahki, I want to speak, and you're going to listen. And he gave like a 2.5-hour dars that day. Rahmatullah alayh. SubhanAllah, he went back to Damascus. A few months later, he died. He didn't. It was very sad because he had just come back, and all of his students were ecstatic to see him. A lot of people just saw him like when they went to Umrah and stuff, and that's the only way you could see him because he wasn't allowed back. And if they knew that you had seen him, you can get in trouble and stuff. And subhanAllah, he came back and he was so happy, and people were so happy with him. And subhanAllah, he just passed away within a few months of coming back. Anyways, rahmatullah alayh. Anyways, beautiful man. We stopped at ayah number 31, and we're going to continue from ayah number 32. The ability to finish the surah today may be a little bit of a stretch, but I'll try my best. We are coming towards the end of it. Surat Al-Mudathir is talking about how Islam looks on the outside. So Muzammil Al-Mudathir is really about how Islam looks on the inside for you, and how it's likely to look like on the outside for others, like what you're going to need in terms of representation. Juz al-Tabarak is very simple in terms of what it's teaching. It's preparing you as a representative of Islam. So it gives the first 4 surah is just teaching you the 4 things that you need. You need a certain amount of knowledge, a certain amount of ethics, a certain amount of spirituality and closeness, and a certain code of conduct, like behaviors. You have that, and then it gives you 2 examples of da'wah, of representation. Both that were done well, one that worked and one that failed. In Nuh's example, it didn't work out very well. The Prophet ﷺ's example in Jinn worked out very well with a full breakdown of how da'wah is going to be done at the end of Surah Al-Jinn. And then you have Muzammil and Mudathir that basically tell you what aspects of Islam are for you, and what aspects of Islam are for society. Like what you are taking from Islam for yourself in terms of your spirituality, your closeness, what's going to help you, strengthen you, making you a better person, and making you and you feel better about yourself, which is what Surah Al-Muzammil talks about. Like قُمِ اللَّيْلِ and وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنِ وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ, the invocation of Allah, supplication, reciting Qur'an, having tawakkul. This is what fulfills your heart and makes you someone who enjoys being alive in general and being Muslim. And Mudathir is what of Islam is going to be for society, and how you're going to carry yourself amongst people, which is why قُمْ أَنذِرْ رَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ ثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ, and we went through all those breakdowns. But then after those 7 commands that exist in the first 7 verses of Surah Al-Mudathir, those 7 commands after ayah number 7, after that is just pointing out the core concepts that if they don't exist, it won't work. It won't work. Like the carrying of Islam to the world, to society, you took a part of Islam for yourself. That's the part where you're praying at night, you're reciting the Qur'an, you're doing your tawakkul, you're doing your dhikr, all the stuff that Surah Al-Muzammil talks about. But then you have to carry Islam and you have to spread it to the world. In order for that to work, not only do you have to follow the teachings, there's also a couple of core understandings that have to be there. One that we talked about was that you have to be someone who accepts al-haqq unconditionally. You have to be someone who accepts the truth or accepts evidence of righteousness unconditionally. If something seems right to you, it doesn't matter how long you spent preaching against it, doesn't matter how long you committed yourself to the opposite, you're going to immediately change. And that's the example of Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, when إِنَّهُ فَكَّرَ وَقَدَّرَ فَقُتِلَ كَيْفَ قَدَّرَ. He went around and he lied. Like at the end, he couldn't help himself. He said that which brought him benefit, not that which he actually believed in. Right? That was the first lesson. The second lesson is what we talked about last week, or the week before, forgive me. عَلَيْهَا تِسْعَةَ عَشَرَ. Right? The problem of being distracted by, the problem of being focused or obsessed by details that make you miss the bigger picture. This is a worldwide problem everywhere. It's not just an Islamic problem. It's a problem in every walk of life. It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you are. Any ideology of any sort, whether it's political, religious, social, ethical, philosophical, it doesn't matter. People tend to fall into this trap where they get obsessed by little details and they lose the bigger picture of what the whole thing stood for. The Western world was built on a number of principles. One of them was freedom. And freedom was a beautiful word. It's a beautiful concept. It's very meaningful. It's lovely. The freedom to think the way you want. The freedom to say what you feel and what you believe. The freedom to voice your concern. The freedom to speak out against people of authority. The freedom to express yourself in whatever way your heart leads you to express yourself. These are important things. We totally believe. These were earth-breaking thoughts that were brought into the political world back then. And it's a part of Islamic, no, it's a part of Islamic rhetoric as well, for sure. Today, what's left of all that is your freedom to engage sexually with something that you were never designed to do so. Your freedom to disrespect everything that is holy and meaningful to people who have beliefs of some sort. Your freedom to take off your clothes and show off your body. Your freedom to be disrespectful and now it's just a freedom of chaos. It's a freedom of mujun. It's a freedom of lack of ethics. It's lost its core. Why? Because we get distracted by little things. We're focused now on little. They're fighting over the Second Amendment, right? It says you can carry a gun. I understand, but what's the bigger picture for you? Why was that? To make sure that the authorities could not oppress the people, not so that you're scared every morning. You kiss your kids goodbye every time they go to school out of fear of someone pulling a gun out of their father's drawer and going and shooting up the school. When people get caught up with the details and they fail to see their bigger picture in any aspect of existence, this all is lost. And an example that I shared with you, وَمَا جَعَلْنَا أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ. Allah says, I said 19 with the sole purpose to show you how the kuffar are going to respond, to show you what they're going to get focused on. This surah is absolutely breathtaking. It's beautiful. It is linguistically a phenomenon, a linguistic phenomenon. It is extremely profound. It's very deep. It's extremely philosophical. It's very real. It's practical. They're not going to listen to any of it. They're going to spend time talking about, well, why 19? Why not 20? Why not this? Why not that? وَمَا جَعَلْنَا أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ إِلَّا مَلَائِكَةً وَمَا جَعَلْنَا عِدَّتَهُمْ إِلَّا فِتْنَةً. And those who have iman details will increase their iman, and details will not make them lose sight of the forest through the trees. They'll still see it, and they'll still have a good understanding of it. And those who don't will lose it. Be careful as you learn Islam, you learn the details of Islam, that you don't lose sense of what the purpose of the actions of Islam are. Like, it's important that you study fiqh and you learn how to perform your salah in depth. Like you understand what's a sunnah and what's a wajib and what's a fard and all the details and how to stand and how high to raise your hands and which direction and to put them. Very important. But that should not at any point become more important than the bigger picture of what Islam is about, or the bigger picture of why salah was made fard to begin with and what you're trying to achieve through it. If you allow that, if your obsession becomes with the details of movements, and you're arguing with other people, you will lose that bigger picture. You will lose the maqsad, you will lose the objective of these actions for yourself and for the community, and then we'll turn into a community that's obsessed by small details where the bigger principles and ethics of life are completely butchered and lost. Where we are fighting over how long the lihya should be, and how exactly we're going to establish the beginning of Ramadan or the beginning of a lunar month, and how exactly which direction the Qibla is going to be. Yet we are lacking basic human decency in many of our daily routines, like in many of our daily This problem is very frustrating. Like in our deen, it's very frustrating when I see Muslims that are absolutely brainwashed and obsessed about details that I have no problem with you learning and adhering to, but the obsession that you can develop with them will absolutely take away your ability to see the bigger picture and to see what are we trying to achieve. Right? In masajid, it happens all the time. When the details matter more than the actual work, right? When you come in, oh, it's loud, or it's this, or it's that, or you're focused. Why? Because the details. You're used to seeing masjid in a certain way, and that's not happening, and you lose the bigger picture. That masajid are for the Muslim youth to come and find a comfort and find guidance and find friendship and companionship and mentorship, and it has to be a space that is open for them to come and do that. That's the bigger picture. The little details of exactly how we're going to run things and when we're going to, like I'm tired of arguing of why Isha is 7:45. So tired of it. So tired of people coming and asking me, why is Isha 7:45? Now I'm like, just, hey, ala kayfi. I've explained it for 5 years, explaining 7:45 because people can't make it. Like you have to explain. But why is it that this is such a big deal? Because people are so focused on the little details. They can't get over details. They need the details to be right, and they lose the bigger picture. Learn not to do that in life. Learn to keep the bigger picture, the objective, what we're trying to achieve clear to you. Yes, care about the details and make sure you learn them, understand them, but never let them take away from you the importance. It's like, and the example, the prime example of this later on in the Quran is the example in Surat Al-Kahf, where you hear the most amazing story. سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم يقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم يقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم. What does it matter if it's 3 or 5 or 7 or who cares? Well, I remember watching, sitting beside the Sheikh after Jum'ah, all the shuyukh in Syria, they sit and they do Q&As. They just sit there and people write things on papers and they take it up to the Sheikh. And the message usually stays full. So he sits there and he's open. And there's a question with him is, what type of dog did they have? Al-Kahf. Why is this? Why is this important? How is this important? What difference does this make? Yeah, not that it's not. Yeah, but understand what I'm trying to say. When there's lack of the ability to focus on the bigger picture and stay of a good understanding of that, so that we continue to reach our goals and fulfill our objectives in life. That's important. Okay, so we're going to talk about, there's still more, like there are still concepts that the surah is going to explain to us that are critical in order for us to be able to carry Islam to the world. We have to be people who are righteous. We accept haqq, whatever it may be, even if we're wrong, we have to accept that. And we won't lose sight of the bigger picture as we move along. We won't get obsessed by details as we move forward as Muslims. Because if you do, if someone comes and asks you what is Islam, if you're like, you should do this in your life. What is your elevator pitch of Islam? Like if someone's like, you have 45 seconds to get to the 21st floor, and this guy's like, what is Islam? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? How are you going to break this down? What is your goal? Is it clear to you? Do you have like immediately ready? If you don't have it immediately ready, passionately, clearly, then you have to ask yourself some serious questions here. If you're offered an opportunity to talk about this deen, right? And you're like, okay, so there's 5. 1 before, dawn, after, and then every year, if your wealth is sitting there, you have to give. Yeah. They've lost interest a long time ago. No, that's not. Are these details that don't matter? They matter. They matter, but at certain moments you have to know what is the. You have to zoom out to the right distance so that you can offer the proper pitch or the proper explanation for things. All right, so let's recite ayah number 32. These are beautiful verses and they're very, very heavy. So let's get through them, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كلا والقمر وَاللَّيْلِ إِذْ أَدْبَرَ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا أَسْفَرَ إِنَّهَا لَإِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ نَذِيرًا لِلْبَشَرِ لمن شاء منكم أن يتقدم أو يتأخر. So this piece here is going to talk about accountability. This is the final piece. The moment a Muslim or a person who is talking of faith or taking faith to others loses sight of their fact that they are accountable for their choices, that they are muhasab about what they've done in their lives, nothing else matters. The moment you allow some other agenda into your intention, within your intentions, the moment you value something more than reward or fear of punishment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, the moment anything becomes more important than that, all is lost. All is lost. Not something is lost. All is lost. What you do has no barakah in it. What you do is no longer needed. It's not even accepted. And it will fail. And that's why this piece of accountability, of understanding hisab and understanding the day of judgment was coming next is absolutely critical within our deen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kalla. Kalla as in what, the example that we're talking about was not good. Meaning the obsession about Tis'ata Ashar, Kalla, that's not a good thing. And then he makes an oath. He says, Wal qamar, and I swear to you by the moon. Wal layli idh adbar, and the night as it leaves, as the night slowly creeps out. Idbar is when something turns its back and it moves away. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذْ أَدْبَرَ, the night as it is leaving. وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا أَسْفَرَ, and I swear to you by the morning as it brings forward the first few beams of light. Al-isfar, al-sufur is when you make something apparent. That's why a lady who is wearing hijab and not putting niqab is called a sufur, because you can see her face, right? And it's not something bad, it's just how do you explain? Why? Because you can see something is being apparent, right? Or asfar is when something is being made apparent. Well, subhi idha asfar, and I swear by the morning, as its first few beams of light begin to bring apparencies. Like you can start seeing things now. You can actually start identifying stuff after the night had taken away your ability to do that. إِنَّهَا لَإِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ, I swear to you by the moon, and by the night at its last moments as it leaves you, and by the first moments of the morning as it brings you clarity. Why is he using these? He's swearing to us, subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the cosmic surroundings for us that exist prior to the moment of clarity. The Arab lived throughout the nights, and their nights were difficult, and they waited for the morning, because when the morning came and brought the sun, now they weren't as scared. They're very superstitious people. And they lived in the desert. And there was no safety. The night was as scary as it could ever be, historically. It was the scariest nights, or the nights of the desert back then. So for them, their comfort came and their clarity came when the first beams of light, asfar, وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا أَسْفَرَ, when you start seeing the lights. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making this oath, and He's drawing this picture of a moment when the moon and the night are leaving, and the morning is starting to bring the first beams of light, and you start to see things clearly. And the way he answers this, he concludes this oath, Innaha, indeed it is. Innaha, it is. What it is I'll say in a second. La ihdal kubar is one of the big ones. That's literally the translation of this. Innaha, indeed it is one of the big ones. What is he talking about? He's talking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about something, and He uses a pronoun, a dhamir, and you don't know what it is, it's 90% of the time Yawm al-Qiyamah. Like whenever, usually in every language, when you say him, or he or she, before that, somewhere in the sentence, you have named him, you have to give his name, and then use a pronoun to refer to him. You talk about something, and then a door, and then it becomes, okay, you can refer. So when the Quran does not have something being referred to, but then you have a pronoun, but because what he's referring to is all well known. It's just too well known. You know what I'm talking about. Innaha, what are you talking about, Ya Rab? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. There's nothing else to know. There's nothing more important than it. There's nothing more إِنَّهَا لَإِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ. Indeed, it's one of the big ones. Ones what? إِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ. Just the big ones, the big events. One of the biggest of all events. Now, when he says ihda subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means there are other events that are as big. Right? What are the other events that are similar to Yawm al-Qiyamah? I don't know. But I know in his creation subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he made in the cosmos, there are things that may be similar to it or before it or after it. But he's saying out of the great cosmic events that will occur within existence, Yawm al-Qiyamah, لَيَحْدَى الْكُبَرِ. It's one of the big ones, indeed. إِنَّهَا لَيَحْدَى الْكُبَرِ. نَذِيرًا لِلْبَشَرِ. I am saying this to you as a warning to all of humanity. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَتَقَدَّمَ أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرَ. For those of you who have the willpower or have the desire to go forward, يَتَقَدَّمَ أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرَ, to go backwards, to stay back. It is absolutely your decision. Within this life, and you find this in the Quran in multiple places where it talks about the taqaddum wa ta'akhur, getting yourself ahead or falling behind. It's all up to you. You and I we control our destinies when it comes to where we're going to be Yawm al-Qiyamah. It is a moment in time. It's a big one. It's one of the big ones. We're saying this as a warning to the human race. It's an opportunity for you to get ahead, or if you don't care, to stay back. But you're going to be somewhere. You're going to be ranked somewhere within this story. And you have to decide where you're going to be. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَتَقَدَّمَ. For those of you who want to make it ahead, to get ahead, أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرَ, or stay back and fall behind. And this is the piece about Yawm al-Qiyamah that you have to really take time and contemplate and think about. Yawm al-Qiyamah is where the playing ground is leveled. In life, it's not. In life, it's not leveled at all. The people who are most powerful, most successful, most famous, most admired, most popular, it's not necessarily that they are the best of the group. It's also not necessarily that they're the worst of the group either. But because the playing ground was never level, so some people are starting from already, they're way ahead. Like they're already standing from way ahead. They were given a lot of opportunity, a lot was prepared for them. So they went very far, and we see them, we know them, their names are there. And other people lived and died, and you have no way to know who they are. Like there's not even an obituary in a newspaper. Like they lived and they died, and no one. So in this dunya, in terms of success and failure, it's not fair because there's so much that's the playing ground is not level. Yawm al-Qiyamah is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accounts for all the variabilities, all the variables are accounted for, and the playing ground is fully leveled now. And your efforts and your hard work and your intentions and your genuineness and your good deeds and your bad deeds, they all present themselves proportionately appropriate to what hand you were dealt in comparison to those who were dealt different hands. That's what Yawm al-Qiyamah is about. So if you lived your life and you're like, I tried so hard and I can't seem to get ahead, and I can't seem to become this, and I can't seem to become that, and I can't seem to achieve this, and Fulan achieved that, forget about all that. This life was rigged from the beginning. It's known. It's Yawm al-Qiyamah where you get your full justice. In this life, all you can do is try your best, push yourself as much as possible, knowing that Yawm al-Qiyamah you'll be offered that accountability piece. You'll be offered the opportunity to prove yourself that you went ahead. Two people who started at different spots and ended up at the end at different places. Like, how do you judge who went farther? How do you judge who worked harder? If I started with a million and have 10 versus someone who started with nothing and has 10,000, how do I judge that I'm better? Like how do they judge if they are better? You can't. There's no way. The only one who can do this is the Creator Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who levels the prayer ground. Jalla Jalalullah. He levels it all out, and it's proven. And it's made clear who worked harder. So don't be fooled by taqaddum and ta'akhur in dunya. Don't be fooled by that. Don't be fooled by how far you are in dunya versus how back you are, because we didn't start from the same spot. Some people get really upset by these things, or they get very arrogant because of them. He looks around, I'm ahead of everyone. I must be better. Nope. Or I look around, everyone's doing better than me. I must be horrible. Nope. None of that applies because you don't know what people have. You don't know where they started off with. You don't know what hand they were dealt. You barely know the hand that you were dealt. You barely understand yourself to understand what other people are going through. But Yawm al-Qiyamah is the opportunity. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ. For those of you who have the will or who have the desire to يتقدم, to go ahead, or يتأخر, or stay back. Because it's all going to be leveled. And then your true effort is going to be there to be judged. Your true effort. What you really worked, what you were up against, and how hard you worked. How much you cared. How much time you dedicated, and how much energy you devoted, and how much passion you put forward. That's what this is about. That's why إِنَّهَا لِإِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ, it's one of the big ones. This is a big day. Because a lot of people aren't going to be happy on that day. A lot of people are going to be not going to be happy. And a lot of people will be. It depends on what you chose to do. Did you choose taqaddam or ta'akhur? In dunya, forget about that. Focus on taqaddum and ta'akhur in akhirah. Focus on getting ahead or falling behind on the day of judgment. Focus on that. Remember that as a person sitting here listening to me, just by the merit of you listening to what I have to say and understanding it, you've already been dealt a pretty good hand. Just by the fact that you're able to hear what I'm saying, you're understanding it, and you're not fully disagreeing with it. Those three pieces, you're already dealt a pretty good hand. So remember, you were already put. Remember those races? You see those. I used to always wonder, like those races where you're going around, a guy's ahead, and then they explain to you that it's because it's the same. As long as they stay in their lane, it's the same thing. But you would watch them, you see these Olympic runners, and one's over here, and one's. As a kid, I'm like, this is so unfair. Why is that guy at the back, and he'll never be able to win? And then my mom was explaining, like, yeah, bani Adam, ya Ahmar. It's the same amount of. And she tried to explain to me, and I would argue again, and because I couldn't understand it until I actually sat down and drew it out and did my own calculation, because I couldn't. It didn't make sense to me. But it's the same thing here. Like, you don't know who's ahead and you just don't know. What you do know is that just by being someone who has already been dealt the hand of having an upbringing or a life story that makes them comfortable in a masjid, and that right now on a Friday night they're sitting in a masjid where you could be almost this is North America, you could be anywhere else easily on a Friday night. And the fact that you're understanding what's being said and it's not foreign to you, and you're not in your mind saying this is absolutely horrible and everything is wrong, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already dealt you a really good hand. So know that you are given pretty good advantage. You're starting the race ahead of a lot of people. So maybe you end the race ahead of some people, but that may not actually mean much, Yawm al-Qiyamah. So make sure you understand what's needed of you. Make sure you understand what you're responsible for. This is an important part. Me growing up, this was something that the shuyukh would drill into our heads as kids. Is don't compare yourself to other people. Don't look at someone Alsi and say, well, I'm better than this Alsi. No. You have no idea. You don't know what his life story is. You don't know what's happened to this person throughout their lives. They may be in a better position in the eyes of Allah than you are. That person who's sinning may be in a better position in their life. Allah maybe look at them and be happier with them in the choices that they made and the struggle that they're trying to go through than you are. In the way that you're doing, because he dealt them a pretty bad hand. They may be doing pretty well with it, and you're a good hand. You're wasting it. You're throwing the cards away. You're not even focusing. You're not putting the effort. You're basically cruising on the gift that he gave you, right? No one likes that. No one's impressed by some person who's showing off his father's cars. No one's impressed by some person who's walking around, throwing his dad's wealth around. What did you do? Show me what you've done. People ask that question. It's important. The same thing here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a lot, so He expects from you more than He expects from someone who gave less. This is simple Islamic, this is like Islam 101. And Yawm al-Qiyamah is one of the main reasons. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَتَقَدَّمْ أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرْ. So for Yawm al-Qiyamah, so that you can, if you want to get ahead, Yawm al-Qiyamah is your day. If you stay back, that's your day, because we're going to level it all. It's going to be very clear. There's no way anymore for you to. You can't say, well, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will deduct that which He gave. And He will add to those whom weren't given anything. That being said, we recite these two extremely important verses, if not the most two important verses in probably this juz. So we recite them inshallah. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ إِلَّا أَصْحَابَ الْيَمِينِ فِي جَنَّاتٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عن المجرمين. All right. So this ayah is not only an ayah of the Quran, but it's also an Islamic maxim. So it's a rule, it's a law. كل نفس, every soul, بما كسبت, based on what it did in its life, the choices it made, the behaviors it performed, rahina, is going to be held hostage by them. Rahan something is when you pawn it. Meaning you say, okay, I want to loan, so I'm going to pawn this, one of my commodities that I have. You hold on to it until I pay you back, and it stays with you. So your nafs is being pawned by your deeds. Your deeds are pawning it. If your deeds come through with what's acceptable, it's out, and it can go. If your deeds don't come through, it's going to stay there, and it's being pawned in Jahannam, waliyadu billah. It's rahina. It's held hostage. Your nafs is hostage by bima kasabat, the total sum of the actions that it did, the choices, the total sum of choices, decisions, behaviors, everything that it did in its life. Al-kasb is a word in Arabic that means everything you've done. Action, thought, word you said, goal that you work towards, participation in everything is called kasb. Everything that you do is called kasb. So every nafs, every soul is held hostage. Rahina is going to be held hostage bima kasabat, based on what it did. Either your deeds will free you, or they will keep you held. And this is the law. This is the law of life, of law of the world, that we are going to be held hostage by our deeds. What we do is going to define where we're going to be Yawm al-Qiyamah. What we do, how we behave, the choices that we make. Ya akhi, that's what you're going to be held by. The choices that you make are the sum, again, are the result of the thoughts that you have, the feelings that you carry on the inside, the plans that you make. The choices of companionship and environment that you put yourself in. That's what you end up doing. Like, what you end up doing in your life is going to be dictated by all of these things. That's why we talk about these things. The reason I talk about your beliefs, your thoughts, your convictions, the reason I talk about your feelings, the way you see other people, the reason that we talk about the state of your heart, your intentions, is because all of these things together, there's like a big mixing pot. They result in what you do. And you are going to be held hostage Yawm al-Qiyamah by what you've done. And if you made the wrong choices, if you made the wrong decisions in your life, then so you have to. So if you're like, I can't stop doing this, okay, well then you have to go back and figure out what's fueling it, what's fueling this behavior, what's causing it. How do you change it? Sometimes it's not as straightforward. Sometimes I stop. If it was that easy, it's not always that easy. Sometimes you have to make big decisions. Sometimes you have to ask hard questions to yourself. Why am I like that? Why do I think that way? Why do I feel that way? Where is this coming from? Where is all of this disgruntlement or hate coming from? Where is all this sorrow or pain coming from? Where is all this judgmentalness coming from? Why am I so ungrateful? Why am I so upset? Why am I so angry? Where is this all coming from? Because these things are leading, like someone who loses his temper, for example. And this happens a lot in the Middle East, and this is like one of the major topics that we have to talk about in masajid as shuyukh all the time, is that men who lose their temper and then they break things and hit people and at the end, after they've cost themselves relationships and money, and why asabt, I lost my temper, as if it's a valid excuse, as if by saying that we should all say, oh, okay, then that's fine. It's okay now that you said words that should have never been said and done things that should have never been done. Well, how do you stop doing that? Well, I can't stop. No, you can. Of course you can. You can learn to control your temper. I'm not saying it's easy. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to come to the sheikh and I'll snap my fingers and suddenly you're going to be a good temper. Well, no, but it's doable. And if you're like, well, why should I do it? And the thing is, you have to care about this, not me. Like, I feel like as mashayikh sometimes, or as people who are talking to the deen, I am forced to care more about other people's akhirah than they care. And I can't seem to figure this out properly yet. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to do this, because my shuyukh were much better at this than my generation are. So I find that I'm putting myself in positions where it's as if I am caring about your destiny more than you do, and that's not healthy for you. If you feel that someone else is carrying about where you're going more than you. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ. The reason that you have to stop losing your temper, the reason that you have to stop saying these things or behaving these ways is because these actions are going to hold you hostage in Jahannam until you fix them. You're the one who's going to pay for them, and you're the one who's going to suffer. You and only you. No one else. So you're the one who's motivated to change them. You're the one who's you're the one who has to be driven to get rid of them. Not the opposite. Not the opposite where we're on the manabir begging people to become better. To become better. It's a problem. It is. And I've noticed this as an issue, and Shuyukh in Damascus talked about this all the time, that you can't. It's a very thin line you walk here, where you're not being rude, disrespectful, or aggressive towards the people who are listening to you. But at the same time, this is your life. You don't want to do well Yawm al-Qiyamah? That's your choice. It's not mine, and I don't have to carry that for you, and I don't have to suffer for that. That's where the Quran came and told the Prophet, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ. But you're going to harm yourself in sorrow. إِلَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. If you're going to harm yourself with sorrow or harm yourself with worry because these people don't want to accept, no. You do your part, you explain, and then they have to care about their future. It works to say, it's the same thing when it comes to children. Like as a parent, you'll find out, unfortunately, as a parent, you'll find this out sooner rather than later, is that you can't make their choices for them. Like, you can't care about their lives more than they do. Like, you can teach and inspire and guide and help and support, but at the end, they have to care themselves. You can't care for them. Like, you can't carry them all throughout their lives. It's impossible. And if you do that, they fail anyways. Like, it doesn't make a difference. Like, they will go back and do whatever they wanted to do to begin with once you're not there, or once you don't have the ability to do that anymore. So there has to be that understanding of accountability. I talk about this a lot, and for a while there, for around a year and a half, I think I blew this horn so hard and for so long that I kind of gave it a rest. The issue of accountability, the issue of freedom of choice, is one of the most intrinsic and central aspects of Islam in general, and younger people have to understand that. You are accountable. It's you. You have to make these choices. It's your life. No one can make them for you. No one will make them for you. Even if your parents try, at the end they can't. No one can go inside your head and make you believe something or make you be a better person. You have to make that choice. And if you don't, no one can help you. Only you can help you. And only you can make these choices, and you are accountable for them. We keep on bailing our kids out every time they make a mistake. Every time they make a mistake, we bail them out. Don't bail your kids out. And when you give a consequence, stick to it. Stick to it, no matter how painful it is. Sometimes you're like, oh no, but he's just a kid. No, you made this mistake, you're not getting this. I don't care how painful it is, I don't care how great it's going to be, you're not getting it. Because you have to understand that nothing in this world goes without payment. There's nothing free. You made this mistake, you're going to be accountable for it. Learn it as a kid within your household where it's safe, before life teaches you a very painful lesson. And then if you're unlucky and life somehow does not teach you this painful lesson, then you're stuck Yawm al-Qiyamah with the ultimate consequence of what you did. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually punishes you in dunya and holds you accountable and makes you, it's for your own good. Because why? كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ. Because every nafs is going to be held hostage by its deeds. And if you don't understand that now, then Yawm al-Qiyamah, how are you going to bail? There's no one's bailing you out Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now, all that being said, and I think you understand that and you appreciate that, if you read the verse that's right after it, I'm not 100% correct in everything I've been telling you, because there's an exception to this, right? There's كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ إِلَّا, except there's one group. They're not hostage by their deeds. They're not held hostage by their deeds. No. إِلَّا أَصْحَابَ الْيَمِينَ, except the people of the Yameen. They're not hostage by their deeds. These people, فِي جَنَّاتٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ, they're going to be in gardens upon gardens, asking one another, in bliss, leisure, and luxury. عَنِ الْمُجْرِمِينَ, about the people who broke all of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happened to them? What happened to Fulan, who made that? Fulan is held hostage by his deeds. But Ashab al-Yameen, no. And this is why these two ayat are very important. Your deeds are what count to where you're going Yawm al-Qiyamah. Unless you're from Ashab al-Yameen, and then And then it's not going to be your deeds. It's going to be the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have 10 minutes. I'm going to try and... This is absolutely... This is one very important part of understanding Islam. Hopefully it'll mean something to you. What deed could you do that would be worth Jannah? What deed would free you from the hostage situation? Think about what deed could possibly be powerful enough for you to be owed eternal bliss. Is there? Is there a deed that you could do that would be worthy of eternal bliss? Well, in order for it to be worthy of eternal bliss, there would have to be some benefit for this deed that would equal eternal bliss. Something that you're paying, you have to pay for, everything that you pay for has to be equal to the value of that which you are purchasing. So if you're going to get Jannah, then if the hostage situation is going to be ended, meaning your soul is going to be freed forever and ever from punishment, well, then you have to pay something that's equivalent to that in terms of value. So what deed are you, O human being, able to offer that is worthy of that is equal in its value? What is it that I can do in my life? What deed can I perform that is equivalent to my soul being freed from punishment forever and to find eternal bliss forever? The answer is nothing. There is no such deed. There is no such deed because I have nothing that I can offer. Kings, when they're going to free people, or they're going to forgive them, then you have to offer them something that benefits them. Loyalty, wealth, power, status, sometimes poetry that makes them feel good about themselves, something that they benefit from that is equivalent to the pardoning they're going to offer you. So what is it that you have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would need, want, desire, require, see as equal to all of that? And the answer is nothing. Because I don't possess anything in this world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs. So there's no way for this to ever be fair. I need to be freed. I absolutely need to be freed. I need nothing else. There's no other need that I have aside from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making sure that I'm not held hostage in Jahannam by my deeds. So that's a clear cut. I am desperate for that. But I have nothing to offer the one who can offer it to me. Nothing. Nothing that he needs from me. How is this going to work? How is it going to work? A servant that comes to his king, and the king is going to punish him. So he's offering all these things to the king, and the king's like, I don't need anything you got. Your grain, I don't want it. I have more than you. I don't need it. Your horses, I have it. Gold, I have more than you. You have nothing to give me. There's nothing. Your good word, I don't care. Your love doesn't mean anything. Your poet, nothing. I don't want anything from you. Hada miskin. He's going to stand there. He's willing to offer his kidney if he needed to, but the king wants nothing from him. Khalas, he's going to be executed. Right? But if there's something that the king wants, then okay, we'll make a deal here. Give me this, this, and this, I'll give you your life. So Yawm al-Qiyamah, you want your life? Yeah. So offer him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, something to free you from the debt. What do you have that he would want or need or benefit from? Zero. You have nothing. You and I have nothing at all. That's understood. Then how is it going to work? So this is going to work not by the deeds, but by what the deeds bring for us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's compassion. When we perform the good deeds, when we make the good choices, we are doing it so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at us and sees us worthy of His compassion, of His love, of His absolute generosity. That is what we're looking for. So if you do that, if you make those, if you become ashab min ashab al-yamin, from the people of the right, that means you've done enough in your life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at you and declared you worthy of His compassion. And you are no longer held hostage by your deeds anymore. Because if you're going to depend upon your deeds, he said this alayhi salam word for word, right? Like it's not like I'm making this up. He said this. No one enters Jannah with his deeds. قال ولا أنت يا رسول الله, not even you. قال لا ولا أنا إلا أن يتغمدني الله برحمته, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala smothers me with his compassion. Which makes the goal of all of the good deeds that we do, all of the good choices, all of the good decisions, all of the obedience, all of this, is so that we present ourselves as servants worthy of His infinite and divine compassion. His divine love. That's it. And once He sees us as worthy of His divine compassion, then we're no longer held hostage by our deeds. We're not going to be held. Because our deeds were never going to save us to begin with. You're going to be held Yawm al-Qiyamah by your deeds. But those deeds are not going to be what buys you Jannah. Those deeds, the goal of them is that they bring you, they get you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah. That's what we're trying to be worthy of His compassion. I'm trying to be worthy of Him looking at me and saying, I love you, and I will forgive you, and I will smother you with my mercy and my love. That's it. That's all we're trying to do. And that will lead to what it will lead to. I'm not doing this hoping that I can transact Yawm al-Qiyamah, my deeds with Jannah. It's impossible. And if He's going to hold me accountable based on my deeds, I'm done. As the guy who said, أَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِعَمَلِي, the other hadith, I'm going to enter Jannah with my deeds. When he was told, أَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ بِرَحْمَتِي, Allah told him, enter the Jannah with my mercy. So he said, no, with my amal, with my deeds. He said, stop, come out. Okay, let's take his right eyeball. Right? The fact that he saw with his right eyeball throughout his life, let's see if he can pay for that with his amal. All of his amal were gone and he still owed for his right eyeball. Bring his left and his ears and the rest. He's like, okay, khalas, okay, I take it back. I take it back. He didn't understand at the beginning. It didn't make sense. He thought this was transactional. It's not. It's not. You're just performing, you're just being the best you can be so that you present yourself as someone worthy of His rahmah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. That's why كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ. Every single soul is held by their deeds and can be punished by their deeds except ashab al-yamin, except the people of the yamin. Those ones, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to show them the rahmah, His rahmah, and then they're going to be moved. Because the amal were never worth anything much to begin with. The amal were simple. Like the actions are they're just a show of love because you have nothing to offer Him. It's just a show of love. You show Him love, hoping that if you show Him enough love, that He'll show you the same love. That's it. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, if you treat it transactional, you're in trouble. It's not. You're showing Him love. In the hope that He sees that, He appreciates the love that you tried to show Him throughout your life, and then He shows you that same love Yawm al-Qiyamah, so that you're no longer held hostage by your deeds anymore. So that you're not held hostage by your deeds. And you're in gardens upon gardens of bliss, asking about the people who made the wrong choices, wondering what happened to them. And that's really the point of this ayah. It's important. It's an important Islamic concept that is often ignored. The carrying of Islam to the world, to the society, doesn't work if the people who are doing it don't understand why they're doing it. So yes, you have to be someone who stands by haqq. Yes, you have to be someone who focuses on the bigger picture, but you also have to know why you're doing all of this. What is the attitude that you're doing it? Are you doing this and you see these actions as some form of favor that you are offering the people in front of you, or a favor that you're doing God subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or a transaction where you're performing these deeds and you're going to, these deeds will add up? No. You are doing this as a show of love and a show of appreciation so that you may be worthy of receiving His rahmah subhanahu wa ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah. So that He may see you and say, oh, you're an ashab al-yamin. I'm going to put you amongst the people of the great. The people who I don't hold hostage based on what they've done. We don't take each and every deed and break it down and see how much genuineness was in there, how much ihsan, how much was the intention. No. If you're going to break all these down, I'm going to look horrible. I can't defend all this. I need you just to look at my life in general and say, قَبِلْتُكَ, I accept you as you are. Right? We just need to be accepted as a whole, with no breakdown of every single choice. La ilaha illallah. Imagine going through the book of your life and being stopped at every single choice. You can't defend all this. It's undefendable. It is absolutely undefendable. We can't defend it. Then what are we looking for? Just a broad stroke, just a general acceptance that I accept you, just with the good and the bad, all together I accept you. So how is that going to happen? That has to be your goal. Like your intention from the beginning has to be, Ya Rabb, I'm just looking for your rahmah. I don't add up to anything. I don't count to anything, and I have nothing to demand. I'm just hoping that you see me worthy of rahmah. I'm going to try my best so that you may see me worthy of your compassion. That's it. And that is all this story is. That's all this story ever was. Any other understanding, ya akhi, is going to put you in harm's way, in trouble. Any other understanding, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ. Every nafs is going to be held hostage by its deeds. Tell me, do you want to be held hostage by your deeds? What deeds do you have that you feel so confident about them holding you hostage Yawm al-Qiyamah? I'm interested to hear. What deeds do you have in your life that make you so confident that you're like, I'll be fine? My deeds, top notch. A+, perfect. Oh, you don't know how good my deeds are. I'm not aware of that being the case of any living person. If the Prophet ﷺ didn't feel that way about his deeds, if Muhammad ﷺ didn't feel that way, who could feel that way? We're trying our best. We're trying our best, and we're trying our best so that He may see us worthy of His love. That's it. So that has to be the intention. Ya Rabb, I'm exposing myself to you, trying my best to earn your rahmah, so that you don't hold me accountable by my deeds, so that you don't hold me hostage by all the mistakes and the bad choices I've made in my life that I'm not proud of. I don't want to read my whole book in front of you. I don't want to go through everything. I want you to look at it all and just say, Rahimtuk. I show you my mercy and my rahmah. That's it. That's why every soul is held accountable and held hostage by its deed. Illa ashab al-yamin, except the people of the Yameen. They are not held hostage by their deeds. They are already in jannatin yatasa'aloon 'anil mujrimeen. These questions that they ask about the mujrimeen are going to be the focus of next week, where we will conclude Surat Al-Mudathir, because they have some questions about what happened, and they're going to get an answer that is going to come directly from Jahannam, waliyadu billah. You're going to hear words that are going to be spoken by people who are sitting in Jahannam, waliyadu billah. It's probably one of the most important words that our ears will ever hear. Because if you don't want to be there, maybe you listen to what the people who are there are saying about what took them there. And that's how Surat Al-Mudathir is concluded. So we'll end with that, inshallah. We'll end that, inshallah ta'ala. Next week, this week, we'll continue that next week. Inshallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka wa azama ala nabiyyina wa habibina wa qurrati ayunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.